This is episode 192 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome to episode 192 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today I have Josh Perez on the show. I've had Jacob Perez, Josh's brother, on before. I've also had Abdullah Majd recently on the podcast, who is one of Josh's business partners. So I had Josh on, and it was not even intentional. I didn't realize those guys were all partnered together before I had Abdullah on the last episode. But we talked about some of the deals that Josh has going on, the business that Josh is in. He's in the mortgage business, has his own brokerage with Jacob. Really, today was a focus on entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurial mindset, how we adapt to situations, how we adapt to the market, how we win. Of course, we touched on the specifics too. We talked about some of the projects that he's working on, and we also talked about Florida and what he's doing down there, why Naples, why Southwest Florida, the things that we like about those markets, especially as Canadians who maybe we want that little bit of a political hedge to get some money outside of Canada just in case we don't like what's happening here. For myself personally, I think that that's extremely important, and I'm really glad that I do have investments down there. So that's something we talked about on today's episode, and it was a really great conversation. I really do enjoy speaking with Josh. So just before we get into today's episode, I just want to ask you to hit the like and subscribe button, leave a 5-star review if you're enjoying this podcast. And it'll just help more people to find the show. And if you're new to real estate investing, as always, I'll recommend that you go right back to episode 1 and work your way through this podcast. You don't have to go through them all, but the first 20 episodes are very foundational. And then, of course, you can come back to the more current episodes. But for those, there have been many that have gone through all of them. I know that they've picked up a lot of gold nuggets over the years. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into episode 192 with Josh Perez. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I've got Josh Perez here, and long overdue. We've known each other for a while, although we just kind of chatted in passing. Yeah. But thanks for coming over.
No, thanks for having me, Andrew. I've tuned into your podcast for quite a while. Know a lot of kind of the guests you have here, and you're providing like a lot of great content for a lot of different people involved in real estate and development. So yeah, it's excited to be a part of it. Hopefully I can add some value to your audience.
Cool, man. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've had a couple of your business partners on in the past. So your brother has been on a couple of times, and Abdullah Majd.
Yes.
If I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
He was just on pretty recently. So I wanted to have a chat with you before. I didn't even realize you guys were partnered. And so we chatted a little bit about some of your Florida stuff, but we're gonna touch on that and what you're up to as a real estate investor. So do you want to just start by kind of giving me the lowdown as to what you do?
Yeah. So again, thanks for having me. Just kind of going back to real estate investing and kind of by day, I'm a mortgage broker partner at Synergy Mortgage Group. We built that brokerage and started it. Well, the building really started in 2015, but 2020 we actually opened up and kind of obtained our brokerage license. But it all kind of started like out of university. I was kind of looking at a few different ideas of where I wanted to work. Ultimately started at a big bank. And got exposed to different kind of investments and finance, and that was really cool. And then in 2010, I ended up buying my first investment property with a few friends. Okay. And that's when kind of real estate investing became, a passion of mine in terms of like kind of learning as much as I can about it, joining different investor groups. And after buying a couple properties and, with a couple buddies who became partners, that's where I kind of decided I want to shift my attention from the mortgage from the banking space to just mortgages, which is tied to real estate. So I learned about the broker channel, focusing exactly on mortgages. And that's kind of how I got into the mortgage space. But real estate investing has been a constant over the last 12 years, different types of projects. It's all largely been based around rental, multifamily, longer term holds. There's been a few projects in between that haven't fit that narrative, but generally that's kind of been the core asset that's been in the real estate portfolio for sure.
For your portfolio specifically?
For my portfolio.
Okay. Yeah. Are you still hanging on to most of that stuff that you've acquired?
Yeah, right now, I mean, we have sold property over that 12-year period, but I would say in almost every case it was to move into something bigger,
size up.
Yeah, because generally speaking, if you're generating cash flow on a rental property and you're building in long-term appreciation as well as principal pay down, it's really tough to beat that rate of return anywhere else in any asset class unless you're looking at scaling that same asset class.
Yeah.
So generally we've sold some property, in situations where we were able to jump into something larger, like a small apartment building. Those have usually been kind of like the only cases, or maybe like, we've had a property realize a lot of appreciation over a short time period. And then the next step was really to kind of get involved into like a larger renovation. And we just kind of decide, we'd rather take that capital off the table and move it into something else.
So are you in like the 50 plus unit kind of territory, 100 plus?
Yeah, no, not yet. I'd say in the earlier days, it was, duplex, triplex, largely in the Hamilton area. Still look at those projects on a one-off. Like I just kind of completed a duplex conversion to a triplex just recently, and BRRRR'd almost all, like probably 98% of the capital.
You guys got the good connections to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it takes definitely like a team. Someone projecting the end values based on the market now. That's a little bit tricky with things happening.
Super tricky,
Yeah, but I'd say we purchased our first larger scale, like a 15 unit, in 2015. Just closed on a 23 unit a month ago. So now
that's with Abdullah as well, right?
Yeah, that's with Abdullah and my brother, and Abdullah's brother actually. So kind of have a family mix there.
Are you guys like normally do you have like a handful of different partners on stuff, or are you normally like partnered with your brother and Abdullah and like that crew? Yeah,
so it started with my one mortgage partner. So we have 3 partners at our brokerage: myself, my brother, and Greg Cox. Okay. And so Greg and I left kind of the banks at the same time. He was at TD, I was at CIBC when we were kind of buying our first property, just buddies for a long time. And we had a third partner who was involved in construction. So, from 2010 to 2015, we bought properties just kind of together, equal split. And then, we all got kind of busy building our mortgage business. He was building construction business. Some goals changed, family dynamics, and time and attention changed in terms of what kind of projects, we were interested in. So, just recently I started to do a few partnerships, with my brother, on a couple of deals, as well as, Abdullah, kind of that partnership. Like we've been in partnership with our mortgage and real estate client business, but in terms of investing, that kind of changed when, my brother and I bought a place in Naples, Florida, kind of during, lockdowns and whatnot. And we were spending a lot of time there, and luckily we're able to work remotely. And so when we realized we were staying there for probably like 2 months, we were just trying to get people to drop in and hang out in Florida because we had some space. Yeah. And so, Abdullah's brother actually came, and he could work remotely at the time, and things were going really well. He's, kind of stayed for like a month, and he's like, we got to buy a place down here. Right. So naturally, they purchased the place more for like their own use and a bit of, secondary, a bit of like kind of short-term rentals, like when they're not using it. But then just as all of us being real estate investors and having different paths that led up to that point, just naturally, as an investor, you're just curious about different markets, different locations, what's happening. So with us spending more time in Naples, we just started to explore opportunities there collectively. And that's kind of what led to us partnering on that project, as well as, the apartment building that was just recent.
So you guys, you bought 2 lots in Naples Park, right?
Correct. In Naples Park. Yeah.
And then I remember talking to Jacob about the one that you guys bought to stay at when you were there. That's like South Naples, down near, I'm trying to think of what it's called.
Tamiami Trail.
Naples Manor.
It's right in that Naples Manor. If you look in the map, that's where it's coded. It's right there. It's actually the one that's called Wentworth Estates, I think, in the neighborhood. Yeah. So it's in Treviso Bay. I had Greg actually, buddy's family had a place there. We visited a few times.
So you knew people down there. That's why
new people down there. Got exposed to the community. It's awesome. From an investment, it was more investment second. Secondary use first. So that was great, and it's a great home base down there.
Okay, so you guys have that rented out on Airbnb? Or no?
That community doesn't permit Airbnb.
Oh, that's the hard thing with Naples. It's like there's nowhere you can buy where you can rent out on Airbnb.
Yeah. So on that front, we're not super motivated about renting it out.
It's not a huge mortgage anyway, right? It's pretty
small. Like, we got in at a really crazy deal.
A good time. Yeah,
very good time. So mortgage isn't beating us up too much. But honestly, just with all this, without getting political, all the uncertainty going on, like on this side of, the world where we are, like we just want to keep the option open to be able to just go and stay there. Right. And because we're fortunate enough to be able to work remotely, like, that kind of is an option like all year round.
Like, are most of your clients like they just over the phone, over the computer, or do you have a lot of face-to-face too?
Honestly, it's almost exclusively phone and email with myself and my team for our clients. Some of our partners who might meet in person or some events and things like that. I was always like a big believer that I needed to meet a client face-to-face at one point in our client journey from intro to closing. And I noticed when we were kind of forced to be away with that, like I just realized that it actually has no impact on your your clients being happy with your service and referring you. So once we kind of determined that, I just realized you can save people a lot of time by not having to jump in the car, commute. Anytime you meet with someone in person, it's usually an hour at least.
And it's nice to do that. Like, I like to do face-to-face, but I definitely think that there's a time and a place for that. And then, of course, if you can do the transactional stuff, just crush it out over the internet, over Zoom.
If you have a good process and good communication and other people, like you can't be if you want to help a lot of people, you can't be a one-person show. No. So if you're training and developing your team to the same standard and expertise as you can, then it works, right? But it's something that's constantly got to be revisited, reinvented, and monitored in order that you're not losing, say, your secret sauce of what kind of got you busy in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, like you guys have been very intentional about your brokerage and your investor focus. And, that's a business in itself. It's separate from real estate. Obviously, it's related. Yeah, it's a helpful thing, because you probably generate a lot of really good lender contacts because of being in that business and helping investors. How do you keep that going remotely? Do you find that that's hard? I know you guys have an office space, but when you're away in the winter, I guess it's not as busy as it is in the summer months.
Yeah, you know what? I think we're fortunate enough where the longer you're kind of in a space and if you're delivering really, really good service and advice, you're always getting referrals and introductions. And so, we've been lucky enough to kind of be busy all year round. But in terms of I'm still a big believer in culture and being around your team. Doesn't have to be every single day, but we're learning now, and it's something that gets beat up all the time. Working from home, is it more productive? It probably is in a lot of ways. Is it going to develop and enhance your corporate culture? I don't know, right? What's weighted more, right? They're both important. So I think it's something that with the new norm in this world, we're learning. And so it's tough in the sense where you're missing a bit of that culture, that vibe. If, if your team like to be around each other and socialize and crack jokes and in different businesses you can have different stressors, so it's kind of a way to kind of de-stress by joking around with your partners and helping each other. It's just you can jump on a Zoom, you can text, you can call. It's not always the same as just kind of being face to face and hashing things out. So that one part of it's something that's got to be monitored. I don't think we can operate a business 12 months a year remotely.
There's no right answer to any of this. Like, I think, like, as we've talked about many times, like the world's obviously changed and people do things differently now. But there's still something about being in a room with people. I think it's great if you do like little like investor meetups, or you do like meetups once a year or whatever, and then you can do the other stuff in Zoom. Like for your team and your employees, probably still a lot of it could be on Zoom, but with clients, we have clients, we have referral sources and partners. So we try to, now we're finally, we used to run like quite a few events during the course of the year, whether it's for our team, a retreat, a boat cruise for our partners, our clients, our friends. And now like that things have like reopened up, we can start to plan those things out for everyone. And it's just, I think people appreciate those things a lot more now. So, that's I think really important, or it has been in our business, and hopefully we kind of bring that back a little bit more. I haven't started that back up yet. I was doing the meetups, and I don't know, those were a lot of work. So I would love to get back into it, but we're doing the golf tournament this year. So that's kind of
that was a good time. I met some. So like, it's funny, right? So sometimes people talk about networking and what are you doing? You're just socializing. But like, if you actually enjoy socializing with people and you care to share your experiences, man, there's people take a lot of value out of that. And you meet some great people that's what I've loved about the real estate community. It's probably kept me in it for so long. People I find are so willing to share
Oh yeah, everybody's just an open book. I mean, not everybody, but I'd say like 95% of people that I come across are an open book. There's the odd one that I'll talk to, like, I just can't see the benefit in me. Like, I'm like, you should come on the show. I can't see the benefit in me sharing what I do. Like, I've had people say that.
Yeah.
But that's rare. Like, that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, no, I think it's there's just plenty of opportunities that are out there. I don't know that people need to keep their cards close to the vest, but that's what I've really liked about it. You know, at your golf tournament, I met, you know, in my group of 4 that you arranged, you know, your I think it's your brother-in-law, Jake.
Yeah, Jacob, yeah.
Jake, Sharon Catano, and I'm sorry, I forget.
Was it Paula?
Paula.
I feel like Paula McFarlane.
Yeah. So I haven't stayed in touch with her, but the other 2, like, you know, great people. See them from time to time. Jake's coming to my tournament. We've talked on a handful of kind of opportunities, mutual clients, things like that.
Yeah, I think you're on Jake's Take.
Yeah, exactly. Jake's Take. So you build in your ecosystem, right? And you never know, like, if it's a, you know, a direct situation where it's going to help you or you can help them, or it's helping people within your circle, right? And that's what kind of like.
Well, I really like that. So like my mindset's kind of shifting away from, I think the original, like I did the Greater Hamilton area meetup, and it attracted a lot of very new investors, and it was an awesome mix of very new to sophisticated. And what I'm really liking now is opportunities like the golf tournament, where it's people who I've had maybe a chance to bring on the podcast, but we don't get to talk enough, or we don't see each other enough. And it gives us a chance to get together and spend, you know, whereas today, like I'll have 4 guests and we won't get that much of a chance to talk outside of the episode. We could chat much more at a, you know, over a beer or something.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Now I still haven't worked that out, because when we get like 40 people at a golf tournament, it's still hard for me to have a lot of quality time with everybody. I guess that just means I should do one like 4 times a year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, opening up different kind of, you know, ecosystems to one another, I think is like, can be so valuable in this line.
Like, think about what you gain. Like when you talk to people who think like-minded, but have a different paradigm, like they look at it a little different than you. So you both look at the same problem and see a different solution. Yeah, like that's what I love. Like when you can share with like another established real estate investor. Okay, here's what I'm working with. Or somebody who's wealth-minded, entrepreneurial minded. You know, this is a situation I'm in. Like, what do you think? What would you do? And then everybody wins.
And it's different when, like, you know, you could read up on theory, and just kind of self-development, different ideas around real estate, just general business concepts. But like when you're actually speaking to someone who's doing something different that you haven't really explored, and they're actually doing it presently, I think you can learn a lot more from, like, you know, case studies and real world examples, or you can trust someone that comes from within your circles referring you to someone else. It just holds a little bit more weight. So it helps you kind of advance, you know, what you might want to look at doing, your learning, your mindset, and then ultimately open the door to things that you didn't think were possible, or just get you there faster.
Yeah, and I know we were talking off camera about like what are the benefits to doing the podcast, and I get asked that a lot. But I mean, I really like think about just like what you said, all these people who I know and you know, and we all know each other. It's a very small community. You meet a really good group of people that are all above board and do good business. You know, like. I love working with people who have something to lose when they don't act, you know, fair, you know, and I think that's the biggest thing with real estate communities, and even more important down in the States. Yeah, because if there's like 1 in 10 people might screw you here, it's probably 5 in 10 down there. Yeah. Potentially. I don't know. I don't know the exact stat. So,
you know what? I've never heard that before, but I really actually like that when someone cares about, you know, their reputation and their circle and their ecosystem. You're right. They do stand to lose part of that. And if it's important to them, they don't want to let people around them down.
And I learned that out of necessity. Like I started, like, obviously you're in a referral based business. You know how much better it is to get a client from referral than it is out of advertising. Well, I mean, the same thing goes for like pretty much everything. So if you have a connection to them, it's going to be like, if we have 1 degree of separation, then somebody knows you and we have a mutual contact, like they're gonna be like, oh, he knows Josh, you know, make sure I take really good care of him, you know, like that. I love that stuff.
For sure.
Yeah. So that's a huge element of the community. So you guys are doing some community events as well. Like I know you have your golf tournament, like we said. Anything else that you're doing? Are you doing meetups and stuff?
Yeah. So we've just with like kind of launching the brokerage, we've always kind of been focused, like myself, Greg, and Jake, on our existing client book, right? And then when we opened up the brokerage, we have had some people through our investor network, clients, whatever, come reach out to us about a career in mortgages, right? So we did, we do some social meetups probably quarterly on that front to try to, have our group engage with each other more often, kind of like what you said with the golf tournament. You chat with people, you kind of keep in touch, but you don't have too much time to go deep on any conversation. So we try to keep everyone together, as well as invite a friend or a colleague or someone to kind of just learn a bit more from some people within our brokerage and a culture we're trying to create. So doing that, we used to run an awesome, like really fun event in Hamilton off the harbor there, a boat cruise. And we were desperately trying to get it back this year, and they're out of business. So I mean, Hamilton more so just because like a lot of our roots and our client base and partners are there. So we're looking at doing one out of Toronto. So that's going to be pretty fun. And then throughout the year, like usually more on an individual basis, myself or Jake or Greg will like run different educational seminars around investing. One thing I'm working on right now to kind of do more often is just kind of the opportunity that exists for homeowners who are sitting on a lot of equity, who've benefited from the rise of real estate prices, and just kind of opening their eyes, more so the people who haven't invested in real estate and have this opportunity to like borrow to purchase a rental property that they wouldn't have otherwise done, and they're kind of conditioned to believe that paying down my mortgage as quickly as possible is like the only or the quickest path to retiring or financial freedom or achieving financial goals. And it's like, no, you can actually do both if you actually, when done properly, increasing the debt you owe against the property to invest in an asset that might return 25 to 40% annually will actually get you there way faster and open your eyes to like so many other things.
It's hugely important right now, I think, to have access to your equity in your home and do it now before values potentially come down more. Because then when those values do come down, you can leverage, take that money and buy cheap real estate. Like
absolutely, like
huge buying opportunity coming, I think. And I don't think it's coming right away. I think that it might take time for values to come down, and I don't know how far they come down. But I do think there's a big opportunity coming.
Absolutely. Like, you're going to have to look at different metrics, right? Cash flow being one of them, the cost of borrowing being one of them. And so, we've already seen a little bit of softening, but we'll have to kind of determine where that leads to, because like these rate increases have happened so quickly. So
no one knows what to do, right? Everyone's just like frozen, like wondering what to do, trying to figure out, looking around, seeing what everyone else is doing. I think a lot of people, I said this on the last podcast, like a lot of people are waiting for the sky to fall. I just don't think it happens like that. This is not the stock market. I mean, a lot of people are in the middle of a term with a 2% mortgage rate. They don't need to sell. It could, when those 5-year renewals start coming up and people start getting shocked with a 2% increase, maybe they decide to list. But I don't think it's like dire urgency for most. Not at this point. I mean, if rates went to 10%, then we'd be in a different scenario where, half the population or more would be in a position to probably offload their house.
Sure.
That wouldn't be good.
And
And who knows where they stop. I don't know if you have, a thought on that, how far you think they'll take it. I mean, in traditional economics, I think we would assume that they would stop once we get too far into a recession. But I've heard Bank of Canada say they're just going to keep going until they get inflation under control.
So it's going to be exactly when that inflation is going to get in check, when the things around us that we see are actually making a material difference in our costs, right? So haven't quite seen that at all, really. So, I mean, a couple of these rate increases have been so quick together that like we got to wait like months.
Wasn't realized yet.
A few months. And if they're saying another one in September, like the effects were really truly aren't going to be factored in until end of this year, early next year.
To really see what it's doing.
But who knows if that's their plan to assess it, right? So we'll see. Definitely think there's going to be quite a significant impact to the economy with that. But we gotta wait. I think closer to the end of this year, we'll hopefully have an indication of when things might shift back or stabilize.
It's going to be an interesting ride for sure. I don't know that they can realistically control the inflation because they'd have to be honest about how much inflation actually is. Because we know inflation's underreported. How much, arguable, debatable. So will they fully control it? I don't know, but hopefully they don't have to go too much higher, like 1980s rates for us.
Really hoping not, because real estate is a huge driver in Canada. I don't know how much it was in the 80s relative to what it is now. I got to think now it's got to be much higher proportionally.
Like the level of debt, even inflation adjusted, the level of debt is much higher.
So despite not having a ton of confidence in the government really mapping this whole thing out fiscally, hope that, at minimum they realize like how much is tied to real estate, and while trying to curb inflation, looking at different methods of doing that. I know like people, trying to curb housing prices for how long has that been a target in Canada? And every mechanism they've tried with different mortgage rules has been not addressing the key issue, which is supply and building.
The key issue is supply. and now like this one, it's not even about controlling real estate, but it is. I mean, obviously you jack interest rates, that's probably the first thing it affects. I think like obviously the idea economically is they're thinking, well, now more money is going to go into investments that are now yielding higher. So it's going to attract people to put their money into investments. People who are paying expensive mortgages are now going to save more. And then of course, a lot of their money is going into their mortgage, their variable rates. And I think of it like a sponge. When they increase in interest rates, they're just a sponge soaking up the extra money in the economy until they can control the inflation. But it's unfortunate that the reason it was there was because of their own irresponsibility, and now the people with the mortgages are going to pay for it. But like I said before, I think we got to look at it as an opportunity. And like I'm liking to ask guests this, like, what would you do? Like if we do have a 50% correction over the coming years in total, I mean, I know that sounds extreme, and I'm not saying that's what it would be, but even if we're anywhere in that ballpark or anywhere in between, 20% and 50%, how will you take advantage of that? Knowing a lot of people are going to have potentially not as much equity in their properties as they did.
I think, what would be important, just in quickly thinking about that, is, trying to put myself in a position where I'm not dependent on selling real estate and being able to hang on for a long period of time without bleeding significantly. So, that part of that starts with controlling your own house, like no pun intended, your actual financial house, right? Getting that in check. Maybe you got to revisit a few things. Maybe you got to have that uncomfortable, conversation, or just do an exercise of literally starting from scratch of everything you want to spend your money on. And then further, any opportunities that you're looking at, cash flow is first. Cash flow is like weighted so much more now because you have to build in the uncertainty of increased borrowing costs.
And if we date back to all the times I said cash flow is non-negotiable, this is why. This is one of the reasons why.
No question. Because the cash flow is what allows you to weather the storm.
Weather the storm, exactly.
That's it.
Can you imagine if you bought like Toronto, like in a negative cash flow on a variable rate, like last year?
Well, no, 100%. Like this is why, you have a lot of people who've benefited from, spec investing. New builds, appreciation. I like this area just because it just goes up and up and up, and it worked out. But that's just not a fundamental, metric to really base long-term investing off of. I mean, despite it working out over the last probably like 10 years.
That's the thing. Like people just don't know hard times here. A lot of investors in our circles, like they haven't been around long enough in this game to see the hard times. I talked to. His name is escaping me out in Alberta, and he was heavily invested before the 2008 fiasco, and his mentality is just so much different. It's like, you've never seen a crash. I have. He's like, I keep 35% equity in all my properties just in case, and it's just a different mentality. People who have seen it versus people who haven't. And I think about that. I do spend time thinking about things like this. I'm like, wow, they must have a pretty good reason for that. Wow, I don't want to see what it looks like, that going through that experience.
So they either have a different worst case scenario than most, or they actually realize the worst case scenario can happen.
It can happen. Whereas I think people were just like high on appreciation. Totally high on it, drunk on it, whatever you want to call it, thinking that it would just go on forever. And that's what I really didn't like the last few years, really since like 2017 when things really started heating up. I didn't like that because I had a slow and steady approach that worked, and then that just screwed everything up because now it's all these spec investors are going in, they're just loving the flipping these properties and making massive gains and stuff. Slow and steady was perfectly fine. It's a great long-term wealth play as long as you have cash flow. They pay you, they go up in value.
And you talk about getting drunk off of appreciation, or just maybe initially when you started your investment plan or path, you had certain fundamentals that you want to stick to, and then
you have to change them.
Or you hit the dangerous part is you hit a couple home runs and you forget that you originally had a plan, and now you're not factoring in that worst case anymore because you hit like these grand slams, and you think that's the new norm, or like maybe you sat down and were faced with it, you don't, but like subconsciously, like you're just not thinking and operating the same way with some risk and protecting what could happen.
Yeah. So how are you seeing people from like a mortgage borrowing standpoint, people who are mid-deal, like what are some of the changes you're noticing now?
So a lot of conversations that are we're always kind of having conversations around like, kind of speculating. What do we think is going to happen? What should we do? Right. I think don't like to be wishy-washy, like to be black and white when possible. But at the end of the day, it's like really coming back to revisiting one's goals and risk tolerance. Yeah. So like I can't sit here and predict where the variable rate, Bank of Canada rate's going to be in 12 months or in 60 months. Right. But I can paint a couple scenarios and then ask you a question.
Are you comfortable with
that? How would you feel if, the variable prime rate went up another 2%, but then in 18 months, it went back down like 1.5%. And then you ended up taking a fixed at 5.5 or 5 3/4. And now you have that for the next 5 years, no matter what. There's no, like, it's just, and I say in all honesty, it really depends on how you feel about those kind of things.
Because historically, variable is cheaper, right? Like historically over time, but it doesn't mean in your 5-year term it's cheaper.
Correct.
Anything could go. I think that for some people, they're just like, if your cash flow only works if it's at this rate or lower, and you wouldn't be able to keep the property at negative cash flow, then there's your answer, fixed rate. For some people, whereas others would be like, no, half my portfolio is fixed, half's variable. I'm comfortable with this. That works.
And the other thing too, like uncertainty for me, like variable comes with flexibility with the penalty exposure. Right. So I'll always like what I say is like the reasons I make decisions to go variable are not if I think the variable will surpass the fixed or not.
It's if you're going to sell.
I'm pricing it in that it will. Like in my worst case scenario, and buy a little bit more than usual now. What's most important for me is that, I look back at the last 3 years and I'm like, man, that was unpredictable. The next 5 years, like I might not want to sell a property now or plan to hold something long term. But looking back 3 years and looking now, like, hey, I don't know what's going to come up in the next couple of years. All the more reason why I don't want to have a penalty that's potentially 5 times more.
Oh, right. Yeah. Because the interest rate differential on fixed rates is terrible. It can be terrible. Yeah. So that's one of the things. Like, I would say, like, if you don't have the tolerance, fixed rate, but then you're locked in. Like, you're not selling. So commit to 5 years then.
Correct. Or pulling equity, or there are ways that you can, but you're very
and potentially limited. If rates go up further, then you have no problem. But if rates go down, that's where you're going to pay. And you got to be ready for that. But so now it's a lot harder decision. Like I just did a couple of fixed rates last year, and I'm sure I'm glad I did, because I'm like, how can rates get cheaper than they are right now? So knowing what's coming, I knew inflation was coming. They are going to have to increase rates. I'm locking in. Somehow I have foresight with these issues. I don't know how the rest of the market doesn't. Isn't that something? The Bank of Canada can't figure it out, but guys like you and I, inflation's coming. So anyway, so it was an easy decision then, not as easy now, right? So you're probably having a lot more conversations about
big time, right? And it's also, from an investing standpoint, what are we hanging on to property? Should we not? Do we pursue something now? Do we wait further? I'm still, keeping my eyes peeled regardless. Again, based on cash flow.
Oh yeah, and now you're gonna have people who come up on a renewal, or somebody that was on a variable that they're just not gonna want to hang on to their property anymore, and they need to sell. Market's not moving a lot. There's gonna, like, as of right now, there's probably some really great deals to have, like way better than 4 months ago.
Oh, 100%, seeing them daily.
And why not take advantage of that? Because I mean, as long as it meets fundamentals, because we never know where the bottom is. For all we know, we've hit it. I don't think we have, but we might have.
I would agree with that. I think there's
more to come down.
It's too fresh, right? Like this rate increase last week was a huge one. If there's another one, there's more that's going to be unfolding.
Oh yeah, you just got to think when all the renewals between now and the end of the year come up, and people start looking at their financial situation, saying, maybe it's time to downsize. Or something along those lines.
Or make an adjustment.
Or make an adjustment somewhere else.
Right? Or like, you know, try to achieve cash flow in another way. Maybe there's a property, an investment to make to help combat, a deficit somewhere else.
All right. So I wanted to dig into some of your specific investments. Obviously, you've got the Florida, the 2 builds there. And refresh me, are you guys thinking about doing more than that, or that's your test run, and then you might scale up after that?
So it's funny you should mention that. In the last week, so now you start exploring an area, you do your research. We ended up into 2 projects. We really were only looking for one, and it was kind of like spent like probably 2 months putting offers, getting outbid, and then we're like, maybe we'll just kind of pump the brakes. We got stuff going on in Ontario, and then within the matter of a week, 2 came up that fit our metrics, looked great. We tied them both up, and then we're like, you know what? These are both like looking really good. Can we stretch to make both of them happen? So we went with 2. We're only looking for 1. But as you know, you're looking at listings and things all the time when you're in a certain area or getting pretty dialed in. So kind of keep those searches going. So we're still monitoring the area, wanting to see what's happening. And we actually tied up a piece of land last week. We have another 30 days. To be completely honest, it can probably go either way if we're going to pursue it. It's probably like a smaller development project. I'm still kind of
in Naples?
In Naples.
Okay.
Naples. Just got to see, like, we're still working with a few different builders on and zoning to kind of really map out, what's the highest and best use, what we can.
So this is a development play if you go.
It would be a development play. We're looking at neighboring properties for a potential assembly. So, and it's a little bit new.
Yeah.
Like, to be perfectly honest, it's a new space that we haven't kind of explored, but we got 4 hungry people doing the research, doing the contact. So part of it's like, that you get a little bit of a high off of that, and it's a learn, right? We might walk away, possibly, not sure. Like, got meetings like yesterday, a couple rest of the week to explore it more, so the viability. So we got the 2 projects, Naples Park. Those are like kind of the main things going on right now. We got something else we're exploring as well.
Yeah, and when people reach out to me and they ask, where in Naples should I look if I want to do Airbnb, there's like one answer, and that's Naples Park.
You're right. Yeah. So our realtor, we didn't necessarily know that right away, but the realtor we were working with identified that as an area because of that specific reason.
No HOA, no condo.
And didn't realize how rare that was.
It's like it's non-existent, and everyone's in a gated community in Naples. Man, speaking about Naples makes me want to go there, although it's way too hot right now. But I love that 100%.
Place. I can't wait to go back when it's cooler, actually, to be honest, in the fall, probably something. Yeah,
way too hot right now.
Yeah.
But I don't mind. Like, I would take it. I'd take too hot all year round over having cold.
I'm with you on that one.
So just take me down there. It's just hard with we had a 2-month-old when we went down.
Yeah, I remember it. 'Cause I was asking you, when are you coming down? Like, I got to kind of stick handle this and see, we got to plan this out a little bit.
It was pretty insane what we did. Yeah. I can't even imagine trying to drive down with him now. But
did you drive?
We drove.
Oh, you drove? I didn't know that. Okay.
4 days, 4 6-hour driving days, which turned into like 8 to 9 hours every day. Which was fine. Like, we were like, okay, we can handle this.
Yeah, embrace it for what it's worth. I remember
it was a good time. Definitely, hopefully we can go back down with them in the fall.
Yeah.
Check on things. We just got to, maybe we'll have to fly. Let's ship the car.
Yeah.
I just want to have a car down there. Do you guys have a car down there you leave, or?
I'm thinking that through because we've talked about, no, my parents have a car there, so they're not there all the time. So we sometimes kind of work that, but no, I say it every time. The rental prices are so expensive. So stupid.
Yeah.
And have just been hosed each time. Just like, you get home, you got laundry list of things that you got to do work-wise, business, family, and just like buying a rental car in the US, it just falls to the bottom of the list. And then you regret it when you go.
the flip side of it is, like, I know Carmen had her hers. It's like a 2002 Audi A6. Like, we bought it from a friend of ours that had a car down there.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't get driven enough. That's the real problem. Is you don't want a car sitting for months at a time, right? So that's the other side of that. I like the idea of shipping my own car down, which you can do, not that expensive.
Yeah.
So
Depends.
If you're going to be there for a month plus, it could make sense to ship it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, compared to the last prices I was paying for.
Yeah, what were you paying? Like, it's like over $100 a day, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was like it was getting close to like 3,000.
Yeah, 3,000 a month. So you can ship your car for less than that.
Yeah,
and then have your own ride.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Something to consider. I know we're talking a lot about Naples and strategy for investing there. You're gonna want to have a car down there. So it's very sprawled down there. You got to get around. You can't walk anywhere. But great place to invest. I don't know why so many people from around here are investing down there. I know I never shut up about Cape Coral, so now everybody is investing there.
Oh, but, yeah, I'm connected with a few. Yeah, that's what is drive? Is it like 40 minutes, hour from Naples?
Yeah, it depends on where. But yeah, some 45, 50, somewhere there.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of clients and people being connected and looking at that area specifically. I think I don't know. It'll be interesting, if we're talking about that market, right?
Yeah.
I remember I heard the stat was like 1,000 people a day were moving to the state of Florida at one point. I'm sure maybe that hit a peak.
Yeah, I heard it was a couple of thousand, and I don't know where it's at. I don't know where it's at today, but the in-migration to Florida is, we talk about all these factors. Like, you can have declining real estate prices in some areas, but not in others. And I'm not saying Florida won't go down. It could, and it probably will to a certain degree. But we have so many people coming there and not enough housing.
Yeah.
Like, which direction can it really go for long, right? Can it really go down for that long?
Yep.
Who knows? I don't know the answer to that question, but I'd say there's a good strong force pushing it back up.
Exactly. And that's why, am I looking at development plays or speculative? I call it speculative because you need to work with an end value that's important for that project, right? At some point. And so not knowing, where prices are going to go, I call that slightly speculative in this moment today.
Yeah.
Right. When we bought it, not 100% so much, but the population demographics happening in Florida is like one thing I'm very curious about. It makes me feel a bit more comfortable with things. And I don't see that changing. Just, it's just state of the world.
Ron drives it though. Ron DeSantis, right?
Absolutely.
Like if he goes and becomes president, then who's going to replace him? That actually genuinely, like I think about that. I'm like, sure hope it's a very good conservative value Republican if it's going to be
someone like kind of
handpicked by him, hopefully. And who knows how that works. Because it could go the other way. But I mean, again, I think it's got a very good conservative base there that's going to keep trying to keep the politics, less government rather than more.
Yeah.
Which is why people wanted to go there. They stayed open. And I don't know. To me, I just think like, when are people not going to love the ocean? When are people not going to love warm weather? Like that's not going anywhere.
No.
And it's really a question about how much more industry is going to come in and create, other employment opportunities in Florida, which I think is, already underway and only going to grow from here.
Yep. And then also in the future, right? If another event that results in forcefully shutting down businesses, if it happened once, it could happen again.
Of course.
If that happens, I'd hope that Florida keeps its same kind of principles, right? And that's going to draw even more people, safety, comfort, freedom, things like that. And so I don't know, that fundamentally in a world that's very, very uncertain right now holds a bit more weight in my investment decisions.
Yeah, I think, nothing's for certain, right? So we all have to like kind of proceed knowing that, you make the best decisions you can. I think, it's good to actually have investments in a couple of states. Yeah. Once you learn how to invest in the States as a Canadian, then you can, it becomes easier the more you do it. And you'll know how to set up in another state and how to do that kind of thing. So, but in terms of your focus now, more US or more Canada?
I would say it's probably more Canada. Tough to say. My eyes are always like kind of open to opportunities anywhere. In Florida, given the size of these projects relative to what I have experience with, I'm probably gonna not pump the brakes unless something really nice comes up. But for some of the apartment building stuff, some smaller multi units, I'm probably looking more in Ontario, maybe out west, in Canada, and then as we kind of learn, which we are quite a bit in Florida, every kind of week there's kind of new experiences happening with meetings with different builders and municipalities and things like that. That might open up my eyes to other opportunities that are available there. So I think it's keeping it open, learning, embracing everything that's kind of coming with something new in a real estate project, and see what you can use it for in the future.
Yeah, I'm thinking like there's definitely stuff coming. Like maybe people can even start thinking about the 1% rule again. That might actually become a thing again. Hey, maybe 2% rule comes around. With rents coming up and values go down a little bit, maybe possible. Well, I'll have to work out the numbers, but I'm the same. Keeping eyes open, still rocking and rolling with Florida, and right now is kind of like a planning phase for me to sort of build out some close friends and family investors where we're going to basically put some money together and really go to town where we see opportunities. Because no matter what, with more of a balanced market or even more of a seller's market, you now get access to those outlier opportunities where there's just not enough eyes on something, and it slips through the cracks and you get a great deal.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think one other thing that where I'm focusing my attention in the US is really ramping up the networking and building of contacts who are kind of situated in different markets. So I think that's equally important if you're wanting to build an investment strategy, is your team, your power team.
Contacts, why you're talking like contractors, brokers,
realtors, real estate investors, right? So communities like, exposed to a lot of them here, but in the US, just hearing and learning from people who have been doing something for a long period of time in that market.
Did you guys ever go to the RIA in Fort Myers, the real estate investor meetup?
No. How often do they? Is it
twice a month?
Twice a month. No, I didn't.
They do a luncheon and then they do like their main meetup. I actually like the luncheon kind of better.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a sweet resource. Going back to the community thing, big on that, right? Like they have a community. People have been going there for 10 years. You know what they're doing. You know what they're all about. You can follow their track record. Makes it so much more comfortable to work with them. Yeah. In my opinion, like having been to the US in like 2012 and got burned by dealing with the wrong people, going back in, it was really important to me.
That's no, I think I'll take you up on that next time.
Yeah, if you're down there, go hit them up. I'll send you the link if you know when you're going to be there. Like, just go meet some people. I can give you some names of people you should chat with. And
perfect.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's an opportunity in there to connect with people that can help. Yeah, that's the big thing. So what are you excited about right now? Like, I know you got the Naples stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you probably have some stuff that was on your mind you wanted to talk about.
No, you know what? A lot of the stuff we talked about is kind of, you know, my day to day and where I'm focusing my attention. I'm excited to see through the, you know, those Naples projects. You know, we're in the permitting phase right now, so eventually we're gonna start moving some dirt. I hope in the next few months. Yeah, that'll be really exciting.
Do you have your drawings already?
Yeah, they just got sent in.
Okay, and the guy you're working with, did he have a template build that he likes that you were starting from, or was this from scratch, complete from scratch design?
No, they had templates that they worked on. Yeah. So this is part
one of their models.
Yeah, so they've done a few other projects and builds, and actually one of my contacts that I built in Naples, coincidentally, is like probably 8 months ahead doing the exact same thing. That we are doing. So he shared, you know, builder contact. We got a few other, we interviewed like 3 or 4 and we landed on this one. Plus he's kind of into it already 8 months ahead. Yeah. So that was a really good kind of person to piggyback off of in terms of like resources and research. And where it really worked was like doing the market research on the Airbnb, like future rental figures. And when I spoke to him about, you know, the numbers that he was running, low end, high end, and ours were like identical. That's where I kind of felt in sync with, you know, this contact as an investor and kind of valuing the same things in just real estate investing in general and how they run their numbers, being more conservative and things like that. So that's really exciting for me right now. Still kind of, you know, my brokerage is, you know, is a big part of kind of my day to day. And I'm always excited about different clients we could help, you know, developing and building our team that we have right now and adding, you know, new people and then and then, you know, agents. So that's what I'm excited about. We're at a really cool time right now with our brokerage where it's, we're really starting to grow a lot more in a side of the business that we didn't really plan on. That's outside of our, you know, our client book. It's helping other professionals build their own business, which serves which serves real estate and for most people, you know, buying a home or investment property is a huge financial milestone. So kind of multiplying that with others who can kind of guide them through that is pretty exciting.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. I know you're very busy, and like, you know what, one of the reasons that I liked, you know, and I wanted to have you on is, you know, it's not just about real estate. Like, I think entrepreneurship is what leads people into real estate. So a lot of real estate investors maybe don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs, but that's what we're in the business of. Like we're basically satisfying customers. Yeah. And it doesn't always go exactly the way we think we will, or it will. But you being in the mortgage business, obviously there's things that cross over, help you in this business. And it's interesting to see how there's synergy. That's why you called it that, right?
That's it. Yeah. We knew it. No question. You know, at the end of the day, every business entrepreneur usually is helping someone solve a problem, or help build a plan or whatever the case may be. But I'm extremely fulfilled getting to work kind of in this space and it being, you know, tied to real estate, which I'm very passionate about as an investment vehicle to, you know, achieve different financial goals or opening your eyes to what can be possible for you, your family, your loved ones, because it can be a huge driver that so many people don't know about and often misconceptualize, is that a word, in terms of like, you know, just thinking of like all the mainstream media articles all around just appreciation and speculation buys and not like fundamentals that really drive real estate.
You know what, I almost got like FOMO with all the speculators out there. I never do that. I'm like, maybe I should. No. No, you never should. yeah, like the mainstream message is, it just seems like it's rarely the right one. Like they don't teach these fundamentals in schools. That's for darn sure, right? You know, it's really cool how these podcasts have all popped up that do teach it, and you know, you guys like provide content and education too, and you know, teaching people stuff that hopefully one day they can, you know, learn in school, or you know, learn from their parents.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. That's the missing piece, and it's no fault of anyone, right? It's just you naturally don't get exposed to it unless it's within your own circle, or you're really passionate about, you know, say self-development that leads into one area or another, and get to real estate. In school, you know, you don't learn about that. You go into your bank typically as your first kind of financial exposure to finance, let's say, and it's like, okay, invest in mutual funds or GIC, ride it out for 25 years, you're invest, do this, hopefully.
And that never made sense to me. I saw those returns, I'm like, this doesn't make sense.
And then
like, how are you going to get ahead doing that?
And then and by 65, hopefully your mortgage paid off, and then you can retire and then start living the life for you and your family that, you know, you've always wanted.
I've pretty much said F that to that plan since I was like elementary school. I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
But
and I never knew what I was going to do though.
It's the norm in North America. That's kind of the plan that's presented, and you know, I think exposing people to another plan that could help accelerate getting to where you want to be, and not saying, hey, I'm going to do all these things when I'm 65, maybe, you know, can be achieved much sooner.
Right. So is that your goal? Like, are you looking for like a financial freedom number in your portfolio? Or like, I mean, I'm not saying that you would stop working because you probably enjoy what you do, but are you looking for like, hey, once I hit this number, then I never need to work? Or is that not in the radar?
No, that's not in the radar. I think kind of you nailed it. Like, I enjoy everything that I do that comes with real estate investing and helping clients on the mortgage side and building a team. That's a lot of fun for me. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of, you know, highs that I get from that. So I really enjoy the challenge of building, morphing, developing a business, and the people around it is everything, right? So that's really cool. But really, like, I think it has to do with, you know, if there's opportunities in front of me that I can pursue, it's kind of like my duty to try to pursue them, right? And then, because ultimately, you know, my business coach kind of helped unlock this for me, you know, late last year. It just kind of, you know, if I can explore more opportunities and I benefit, you know, say financially, I can help more people around me, right?
Absolutely.
So why am I not looking to do that? If I just think about what the byproduct is of me pursuing building, you know, my wealth and my resources, my network, I can pass that on to other people, and it can make a real difference in their world. Like, you know, I'm not saying I'm a direct representative of it, but, you know, people on our team, like, obviously real estate investing is like a huge thing between me and Jake. I don't know if you can go like half hour without real estate coming up, but our team, you know, while they're helping our clients, like, you know, almost everyone on our team has like purchased a rental property, a lot of young professionals, and that like is a big sense of pride, and I felt that's like a huge accomplishment, like seeing, you know, because I know maybe not today, it's not like stacking the bank account, but in the future what that's going to lead to, I just know it's going to change their life, right? And so that is something that, like, I think just bringing more opportunities, educating, learning, showing through like clients that we're helping and other people like yourself and people within our ecosystem, seeing what can be possible, just exposing people to it, because they don't naturally get access to that just on their own a lot of times.
Plus it's more fun once you get to talk to people who are doing it too.
You
have something in common with them. You can share best practices. You learn from each other. It's great getting other people into it. And then you all grow together. So.
Especially if you're a student, right? And you want to learn. Right? And you are interested in how and why people are doing things a certain way when it comes to investing. Yeah,
exactly. So Josh, where do people find you, reach you?
Just good old fashioned emails. One, josh@synergymortgagegroup.com, Instagram _Perez Josh. Those are probably the best two channels to find me.
Cool, man. We'll include those in the show notes description. Thanks for coming over and having a chat. It was fun.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure to share this episode far and wide. Help it help more people. I really appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.